being a reader, writer, researcher, and advocate with and for bilingual Latinx students. So there were three main points, and I'll go through each one and I'll just talk about um, a little bit about the practice in my own school, in my own life. Support and advocate with and for students, grow a coalition of edu advocates, build a community of practice to reflect and revise. So the first one, support and advocate with and for students. She had a lot of questions, and that was the suggestion, was to keep a journal and jot down responses to those questions. So the first one is decide on a focus. What are your students asking of their classroom experience? What is your dream goal in creating a supportive, engaging, and thriving experience for your bilingual, multilingual students? What will this look like in your classroom? What will it sound like? And so I was thinking, what are my students asking of their classroom experience? And I couldn't help but think they want it to be engaging. They want to be involved. They don't want it to be boring. And my dream is to create that environment for them where they feel comfortable speaking in whatever language they want to speak in. Um, what will this look like in your classroom? It will look like Spanglish. Honestly, it will look like students actively participating, not me having to goad them and beg them. What will it sound like? It will sound like a lot of talking, and again, it will sound like Spanglish. So the second step is to make a plan. What supports, which includes materials, texts, mentors, colleagues, funding, or time, do you already have that will help you reach your goal? How useful are those supports? So I was thinking I have some colleagues in in my school who have been in bilingual education for many years, who would definitely be a support that I have available. I have our instructional coach who's like a mentor, and she's been in bilingual education for a number of years. I really don't have much funding. I think I get $200 a year from the school to spend. Um, and I did spend it this year on buying a number of bilingual texts to be ready for my class. Um, how useful are those supports? Well, my colleagues and my mentor are extremely useful. I already have been using them and reaching out to them a ton, because this is my first year in Wisconsin to be in bilingual education, and it's different from what I did in Texas when I was in bilingual education there. What supports do you still need? That's a good question. I guess more funding. You know, being able to go to um, trainings or conferences, which my principal is very supportive of us doing that. Who can help you to get the support you need? I would say my principal would be one I can go to. What steps do you need to take to reach your goal? That's a good question. Um, I think it's researching maybe to start with, where I can find information to help me in my classroom. I mean, this book in Comunidad was a great start, to help me create and to have engaging lessons. Then finally, put the plan to work. Create a visual representation of these goals. Challenge yourself to work toward these goals each day. So I did a little visual presentation of students, engaged and, like participating. So I thought that was a good representation. So just one quote from that part of the chapter. This meant that the learning was happening for students and for schools across schools and community organizations, and all felt that their voices and experiences mattered. Crow, a coalition of edgy activists. This I thought was just a great chapter. Uh-oh. Um, oh well. Um, this was a great part of the chapter. Um, to Oh, there were two questions here, which I don't know why they're not showing up. Who will be your thought partners? Consider people you know in your own life, as well as educational leaders and online communities. Who can you visit to see what some of these goals look like in action? How might you start a study group that meets regularly to strategize, implement ideas, and reflect? So again, I thought, well, my thought partners, I think, would be the other bilingual teachers in my school. And Katie, Katie is our instructional coach. She already has us. She's reading a book, and I can't remember the name right now, but she's reading a book and then she's presenting to us information, and it's all about bilingual education. Um, who can you visit? What some of these goals look like in action? And again, I think visiting some of the other bilingual educators in my school, but then also I know Madison and Milwaukee have schools that are bilingual, so I could go visit those schools too. Recommended thought partners. I'm sure you saw this, but I just thought I'd put it in here so you would have it in here. Disrupt Text, Dr. Debbie Reese. The City University of New York State Initiative on Immigrant Bilinguals. Ratio Linguistic Ideologies and Pedagogies with Dr. Nelson Flores and Dr. Jonathan Rosas. And that's their Twitter following, or X. I guess it's X now. Their X. And then these were some texts that they suggested: Rethinking Ethnic Studies by Literacy from the Start. So then, as you grow a coalition of edu activists, and as you share texts that highlight varied experiences across the Latinx community with each other and with your students, you're helping to disrupt harmful narratives and instead be a part of a more humanizing way to teach and build relationships with bilingual Latinx students. So finally, build a community of practice to reflect and revise. So again, go back to your teaching journal. What might your community of practice look like? When would you meet? What artifacts would you need to have with you during these meetings? How might you include students, families, and community members in these reflection times? So I think my community of practice would be with my bilingual teachers at my school. And I think we would meet, I don't think we could meet more than once a month, honestly. And it would have to be after school because we all have different planning periods. We could bring what the students are working on to these meetings. I think we could talk to the students and tell them what we're doing. Same with families, but we could also invite some family members to be included in these times to come and visit with us. So I thought this was a great graphic. Ideology: start with the theories that guide your teaching. What are your beliefs and approach to bilingual and multilingual students? From chapter 2. Oops, that should say chapter 1. Pedagogy: implement transformative pedagogy that reflects an ideology that centers students' lives. That was chapters 2 through 6. And then reflection and revision, which is what we're doing in this chapter. Reflect on implementation and make revisions considering students' artifacts and repeat. The teacher as savior narratives is toxic, and to dismantle it, we must emphasize the growth that happens when we grow together in comunidad. So my discussion question is, what is one action step you can take tomorrow to put a new plan in place?